What's up, Swole Soldiers? This is episode 19 of the Strength House podcast, and we've got special guest Ryan Gleason of Gleason Performance Training in Derby, Connecticut. He's going to talk to us about how he's created a training environment with over 70 competitive powerlifters, as well as what he's learned from previous injuries to help shape his training philosophy. Finally, we talk about high-frequency programming and how it can make you really strong, really fast if you can handle it. We've got 2 awesome beers from Trillium in Boston, Massachusetts. Thanks for stopping by and enjoy the show. The Strength House Podcast, featuring Greg Robbins and Tony Bonvecchio.
All right, guys, welcome to the Strength House Podcast. This is episode 19. One more and we get to the infamous 20th episode. We're doing all right so far. We got a full house tonight. I got Tony B to my left as always. We have Irish Kate, our producer, here as well. And we have our special guest, Ryan Gleason from Gleason Performance Training in Connecticut, not Maine, even though I wrote Maine earlier today. I don't know why I've just been like fixated. I was like, oh yeah, that gym's in Maine.
Well, you said I thought you said New England. I was like, that checks out. That's kind of like...
I did say New England. Then I of course had to take the next step and say Maine, even though... I guess I really had no proof that it was in Maine. I don't know why I always thought your gym was in Maine, but I guess
it's all right. It's all close.
Awesome, yeah. So we should have a great episode for you tonight. We have 2 beers coming to you from Trillium Brewery here in Massachusetts that we're excited about. Both beers we've had kind of a little bit different version of this first one. Yeah. So how are you doing, Tony?
I'm doing great, man. I'm looking forward to crushing a couple Trilliums. Always solid beers. Never had a bad beer from Trillium. So, Ryan, as we prefaced earlier on, this is a half strength and conditioning, half craft beer review. So we're going to start by cracking our first beer, which is Stillings Street IPA from Trillium. I've had the double dry hopped or DDH as the cool kids call it version of this. I don't believe I've ever had the original version. So. Yeah, looking forward to giving it a try. So as we pour this first beer here, Ryan, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? How do you get started with your own lifting? How do you get your facility started? And kind of what is it that you do on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, easy question right back. So I got into lifting for baseball. I played college baseball, was a pitcher, and just kind of learned early on that if I was stronger, I could be a better pitcher. So my dad got me into a weight room at like 11 years old. He stuck me in. I was supposed to be 14 and just said I was older and pretended on my birthday and started lifting. Did that up through college until I got hurt, had Tommy John surgery, and did not come back as well as I would have hoped for baseball. So I met one of my professors in college for strength and conditioning that was an Olympic weightlifter, Gary Valentine. I think Gary still owns a couple of world records. And I got into Olympic lifting first. Loved weightlifting. I was actually pretty good at it. It was fun. And then when I had my second arm surgery, my labrum at that point, I found out I couldn't catch a snatch anymore. So that was done. And just simple progression seemed to go into powerlifting because I was like, oh, this is easier. I can do this. So kind of got into that and did that for probably 3 or 4 years, I think, before I really started coaching. Found that I was a much better coach than I was a lifter. So, started picking up a couple guys here and there, really for sports at first, not so much for powerlifting. Did it in my parents' garage, like 350 square feet. I had like 10 guys in the garage, a couple girls. It was a club. It was a good club. We started there. That was like up to about 5 years ago, and then we moved into our first facility, like 1,200 square feet. We were there for about a year. At first, I was like, what am I doing? I don't have any members. It's crazy. Got lucky. We built it up a little bit there. Moved into our current facility about 3 years ago. And that's when it really took off for powerlifting. Right now, we've got about 70 competing powerlifters. And that's kind of like over the last 3 years, that's where it's grown the most. We went from, I think, about 10 3 years ago to about 70 now. And really, my lifting is completely taking a back seat. I'm coaching every day. I'm in the gym every day. I'm programming for maybe not everyone, but almost everyone in the gym, and some people online. And like I said, I get my work is through working with everyone else now. I'm not worried about my own training. It's not good. It's not good. So figure if everyone else can do well, then at least I get something out of it.
There you go.
So I think that's probably the short story.
Well, interesting parallel for sure with the torn UCL, as Bear gives her opinion on it. Well, we see guys recovering from Tommy John surgery on a daily basis, but also very interesting that you've got a very high level lifter in Jillian who was a weightlifter, now turned power lifter, who suffered a torn UCL and then couldn't snatch anymore.
Yeah.
So as far as maybe steering in a totally different direction really quickly, what'd you learn from a strength training perspective from undergoing that injury? How did it kind of change your approach? How did it change the way that you view things now?
I think the biggest thing was I was always kind of a performance first. It was just like, let's get stronger, bigger, faster, whatever you can be a better athlete. And then once I realized that I had that engine, but I was getting hurt pretty regularly at that point, that staying healthy was more important. And I think that's probably one of the bigger things that I do differently than most powerlifting coaches. We work on a lot of things that aren't powerlifting. We do a lot of single leg work. We do a lot of dumbbell work. We do a lot of rehab work to stay healthy, just because I find, if you can train for 5 years consistently, you're probably going to be pretty high up in the game compared to someone who can only go for 6-7 months before they got to take time off for an injury. And I think that's the biggest thing that, like I said, like my surgery really changed for me was, okay, how can we stay healthy for longer? And if we can do that, then performance will kind of just come with it.
That's awesome.
Nice. That's cool. So, first of all, 70 competing powerlifters under a single roof is awesome. Awesome to hear. Especially
and a little terrifying.
Yeah, a little terrifying. Especially given the fact that, it's not like you're in a major city by any means either.
Right.
So to get that many people invested in the sport of powerlifting, kudos to you and your facility. That's great. How do you guys structure things there? You running things in is it kind of like a team aspect where people are lifting together, or are they all kind of just coming in at their own time? How does that work?
So pretty much everyone comes in at their own time. But when I say that, most people are coming in around the same times anyway. So even though they might be coming in on their own, they have their own program. You'll see people that are working in together anyway, because it's just, timing wise, people are coming in after school or after their jobs, and I'm squatting today too, so let's get in the bar together and start working out, or at least right next to each other. So I've always said it's small group, that was because it is small groups at a time, but it's, really it's on your own schedule, and then just happen to be that because they're all basically training for the same thing, they end up working together.
Okay.
You hear a ton about training environment and how important it is, and obviously, a place like Westside Barbell is legendary, and that is like the training environment that everybody tries to emulate. What have you done specifically as a coach to try to foster a certain type of training environment to help your lifters get better?
Right. I tried to right from the beginning, because just coming from that sports background, I've always been around baseball and being around teams. From the time I was probably 5, I was always around a team. So in the weight room, it's kind of weird when it's, you're by yourself, you're doing it for you, and, there might be a couple guys with you, but we decided right off the bat, let's see if we can make a team atmosphere where even if you're squatting and hopefully the rest of the team is there cheering for you, like if you were up there, taking a swing in a baseball game. So we just try to build that team thing of everyone's here helping each other out. So when we go to meets like nationals, like for USA Pickleball Nationals this year, we'll have about 20 people go down to Florida. And, there'll only be one person probably lifting at a time, but the other 19 are going to be in the room cheering. And I actually had someone write in their program recently that they got more reps on a max rep set because someone else was yelling at them. They said they would have stopped at 7, they ended up getting 10 because one of the members was like, you got to get more, you got to get more. And they got 3 more reps on a set that they said they had no right getting 10. And I think that's just been a big thing for our training.
That's huge. I love that, man.
Yeah, that is a major difference maker. And to go back to someplace like Westside, a lot of people have arguments about methods a lot, but I think the overriding fact is that everybody says it's not about necessarily the methods at Westside, it's the fact that you're surrounded by people that aren't going to let you take any sets off.
Right.
And then you're going to tag along with someone who's already been there and done what you're trying to do, and that they're going to, help aid you in that process, and that's the difference maker. That's what
Absolutely
created so many world champions there, and so that's awesome. That's kind of why I was asking about, does everyone kind of come in at their own time, or is there like set start and end times? So you've basically been able to build a culture where people can kind of come in and get self-started and do their own thing to a degree, but that everyone does feel like they know the other person in the room. And
yes, yeah.
so
I mean, yeah, we joked that we get a little too comfortable sometimes. We went to USAPL Raw Nationals the last few years, and I think 2 years ago we were in Scranton, and there was like 13 of us staying in 2 rooms together. People are sleeping on the floor, people are sharing beds, and but that was, we got a young team, and you had to save a little bit of money, and that's the difference. I think that's been the big thing for us, is that we could do that and support each other and not want to kill each other all the time.
That sounds like some road trips for baseball games that I've been on.
Yeah.
Well,
Interesting parallels between the two sports.
Even a road trip for powerlifting meets too.
Yeah.
So what are some of if you don't mind getting specific, kind of what are some of the specific things you do to nurture that culture? I mean, with everyone not necessarily being forced to, let's say, warm up together and squat together and things like that, is that something that you kind of just naturally let evolve, or was it something that you were throwing logs on the fire on purpose, kind of?
I think we've been pretty lucky. Like I said, when we started back in my garage, we had I think we left the garage with 12 people that were with me, and of those 12, there are still 6 or 7 that are with me today that have been training with me the whole time. So I'm talking 7, 8 years. So they become part of the family. I mean, like I said, they're around all the time. Several of them, probably all of them, that are still with me, actually were at my wedding, and some of them were at the hospital when my daughter was born. So I mean, they're not members of the gym anymore. They're part of the family, and they're that first team atmosphere. They kind of built that, and then as other people come in and see that, I think it just, for most people, it just kind of, they fall into place with it. They see those guys cheering for each other, and someone's going for a big lift, and the room stops to yell for everyone for that one lift. And then we've done a few things, we put a PR bell up over on the wall, and, you go hit a PR, and you go over and ring that bell, and everyone knows what just happened, and everyone cheers for you, and, put in some rules for the radio, you're allowed to touch it if you're strong enough, and if you're not strong enough, then you better work for it. But, when it's your time to PR, go put your song on and crank it up a little bit and have some fun with it. And like I said, everyone knows when it's that time, and everyone focuses on that one person instead of doing their own thing. You'll see the whole room, 25, 30 people will stop, cheer for that one deadlift, for that 10 seconds. Boom, hits the lift, goes over PR, ring the PR bell, cheer for another second or two, and then everyone goes right back to work. And I think that's been a big thing with it. As I said, it's just everyone kind of fell in line with that original crew.
That's awesome.
I love the radio rule.
Yeah,
There's nothing worse than when you got the metal cranking or something really good, and then somebody goes and puts Kanye West on the radio. It's just
we got to change it. We used to, the rule when we started was you had to be able to squat or deadlift double body weight to touch the radio. If you could do that, but someone was stronger than you, they could change the station, and I can always change the station. But as we've gotten stronger, double body weight is not a big deal, and everyone's like, "Oh, I can change the radio." So now we're all right, we got it up a little bit more.
Raise the stakes a little bit. So what's your go-to song if you got to hit a big lift?
Surfacing by Slipknot.
Oh, okay. I like that.
About midway through the song, let it build up for about a minute, and then once they start going a little nuts with the chorus, that's when I'll start.
Nice.
I like it.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
We're into the heavy stuff too, for the most part, for sure.
Yeah. If I had to hit a PR and I change the song, I mean, I'd probably go. I always go with Tool, Jambi. I never know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I love that song. Multiple parts of that song, but yeah. Or Holy Diver, Kill Switch Engage, I would say.
Okay.
That's
That's a great one.
that I like.
It's hard to choose exactly one, but Bulls on Parade, Rage
Yeah.
Against the Machine. That when that main riff kicks in.
More recently,
Okay.
I would say, like, if I have a hard training session as a whole coming, just putting the entire Evil Empire CD on
Right.
Yeah.
from front to back is, I like that.
You can't go wrong
I'm a
with
big
that.
fan of just like, that could solve radio problems too, I think. If it was like, hey, you have to actually choose a whole CD,
Yeah.
and we're going to listen to that.
I agree there. I can't. I'm not a singles guy. I'm too old for that. I think I put an album on. I listen to the whole album, and yeah, I don't like jumping around from song to song.
Yeah.
We were actually just talking about music a little while ago at the gym, and one of my guys, Brian, was like this. So hi, Brian. Hatebreed is like our go-to album for almost everyone. Hatebreed's from Connecticut. You know, they're like the hardcore band. If someone's not sure what to put on, we'll put on something from Hatebreed, and more often than not, people are like, "Oh, all right, I can listen to this." And we'll just put on, I said at some point I will have on the wall of the gym, Satisfaction is the Death of Desire. We'll throw that album on and
Yep.
get about 35 minutes where it's just brutal and you can go heavy and album's over, let's start something new.
Has anybody mastered like the 2.5 minute song the way that Hatebreed has? Those guys got it down to a science.
No, like I said, we were just talking about it probably an hour ago. Like, when we do powerlifting meets, we try to let people pick a song. So be like, hey, on your third squat or your third deadlift, whatever, like, you know, you can play your song. And everyone picks a song that's 5 minutes long, and they want that 30-second part, like in the middle. And I'm like, guys, we say your name, you got 1 minute. We're not gonna be able to get to it. With Hatebreed, you put it on, and the song's over before you're done with it.
Yep. And
To go back to baseball, you got to like create a CD of like walkout songs for all your
Right.
lifters. Yeah.
Wasn't like just long enough for me to get out there and then be done quick.
well, what's cool about albums is like, you know, a lot of older albums are, you know, 45 to 60 minutes long.
Yeah.
Like you can get through most of a training session,
Right.
like listening to an album front to back, and that's like I feel like a cranky old man saying that like people won't do that anymore.
Right.
But like that's how I got into music, like laying on my bedroom floor as like an angsty 14-year-old and
Absolutely.
listening to a record front to back.
Yep.
Shit just doesn't happen anymore.
Oh yeah. I would just lie on my bed on my stomach, reading the lyric book.
Yep, exactly.
And just play an album all the way through. I totally agree with that. I think a good little thing for the radio would be like you put 5 pictures of 5 albums up, but you like blur out who it is and just be like, if you can't name these 5 albums, you can't touch the radio.
Yeah.
So it's got nothing to do with strength anymore. It just happens to do with like whether or not you have any like feel for music at all.
I'm a music snob, so I'm with like, I don't necessarily, I mean, I'm a hardcore guy generally, I like metal, but I don't mind, we play rap in the gym a lot, but it's gotta be certain rap. You know, we put on KRS-One, Rakim, NWA, stuff like that all the time, but like, some of the new stuff, I'm like, no, you can't listen to this, turn it off.
No. This is making you a weaker human overall.
It all
Yeah.
comes back to environment and atmosphere, and like we've had this discussion before, you know, among staff members being like, do clients get discouraged or get intimidated by the music that's on the radio if it's aggressive? And you know, the conclusion that we've come to by polling the clients is that like no, like they're actually they don't hate the heavy metal, they don't hate the aggressive rap and hip hop. Do you guys argue over the music much, or do people kind of yeah?
Like, so generally every day when I open up, I throw on rap, and I put on Amazon Music and throw on KRS-One radio, and I start it there because I know someone's going to change the music pretty quick when they come in anyway. And usually I don't mind. Let people do what they want to do. You know, we've got metal, we've got rock, we got a couple people that like country, and that's just not allowed. That doesn't last. If you want to listen to it, it's fine, but not in the gym. But our strongest guy in the gym, and I hate you, Carlos, for this, but is an EDM guy. He's going to that big EDM festival this weekend, and he walks in the door, and boom, like EDM is on immediately. And I'm like, oh, I hate this so much, but you squat 800 pounds, so I don't really know what to say to that. And everyone was kind of like, oh man, like, you know, we can't change the music. And and we'll change it like when it's their time to go heavy. But we argue all the time.
It's a pretty good catalyst to get stronger, though.
Yeah.
If EDM played 24/7, I would train my balls off just to take off.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. So you guys do like some in-house powerlifting meets as well? I don't know.
Yeah.
You were just kind of alluding to that a little bit.
Yeah, so USAPL Connecticut and USPA Connecticut. Basically, almost all the meets in Connecticut are run through my gym. Either I'm running them myself or a couple of the guys that lift with me, they'll run some of the meets too, but they're basically all at my place. We've got a good setup for it. Over the years, at one point we had a lot of turf and we were doing, like I said, more athletes, and as a lot of my athletes from high school and college graduated and stopped playing sports and just became more and more powerlifters, we really just started turning the room into the powerlifting room. So, we ended up taking the turf out and moving the racks around, and I can have the gym set up in an hour for a meet. Move one bench, move a couple weights, drop a curtain down, and we're ready to go. We run probably 8 to 10 meets a year out of my place. So, yeah, it's fun. It gets people a chance to compete because a lot of people are a little nervous to travel the first time, but it's interesting when you're there all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. You're like, oh man, the weekend's over and I'm going back to work on Monday. That doesn't happen. All right, But I said we took over Connecticut USA Powerlifting like 5 years ago. There was, I think, 4 members. There's like 220 now, and probably every single one of them has competed at some point in my gym. So it's kind of what I wanted to grow like that.
That's really cool. And we spend a decent amount of time on the show talking about first-time powerlifters, how to get into the sport, how to get ready for your first meet. That first meet, I think, can really set the tone for a long powerlifting career, especially if they enjoy it a lot. In my experience, USAPL runs very, very tight meets as far as like a timing standpoint.
Right.
Their judging is very consistent. What would you recommend that a first-time lifter do when looking for a first meet to make sure that they have a great experience?
That's tough. I think the first thing,
besides obviously do a meet at Gleason Performance.
Right, of course, just everything I have in my place. I think the easiest one is start off local. You want to try to take as many variables out of the equation as possible. So if you're traveling 2 hours to your first meet, which is what most of us had to do when we started because Connecticut didn't have anything, we were driving usually outside of Boston. It's just another variable. Are you going up the night before, or are you driving up at 4 in the morning? And it would throw a lot of people off. So I think find something close to you if you can. Please, everyone, stop cutting weight. At least for your first meet, don't cut. Just go in and weigh whatever you weigh. Open very light. Get that opener attempt in. No one cares what your opener is. Go in and crush it, and then go from there. I think too many people are worried about that last lift, and like I said, they're cutting weight because they want to make a certain number at a certain weight, and now you've got 3-4 variables in play, and lifting becomes the least important. Just go in there and lift some weight. If you're going to try to make nationals or go to the Arnold or do something like that, okay, maybe, but especially for your first meet, have fun with it. And I've said this in the gym to all the people that compete. I don't know anyone that's done a meet that hasn't done another meet. But I think you're right. If they have a good meet, it's more likely they're going to do one soon and they're going to enjoy it. So relax and have fun with it.
Absolutely.
It's nice to hear somebody echo the "don't cut weight" sentiment.
All the time.
I have that at every meet that I coach at. I end up having a conversation afterwards with somebody who decided last minute to cut weight, whether they admitted it to me or not.
Oh yeah.
It almost never turns out well.
We had one 2 or 3 years ago. We were in Denver, and one of my girls missed weight by 0.02 kilos. So she literally comes out of the scale, off the scale, and she comes up to me and she goes, "Cut my hair." I'm not cutting your hair. She's like, "Come on, no." I was like, "I'm going to cut your hair. I'm going to have to deal with your shit for the next 6 months while it grows back." She ends up, so she doesn't make weight that day. She ends up lifting the next day. She got to eat all day. She ends up making weight, easily the next day in the weight class up. And she weighed like 6 or 7 pounds heavier. She went crazy. She had like the best meet she's ever had. Everything was great. She felt strong. She went out and hit great weights. I was like, like I said, if you're at the top of a class, you're going to place top 10 in the country or something like that, go for it. But if you're first meet and you're trying to have fun, just go do it. Just, what's the point? Lift more weight or lift less weight at a lower body weight. Like, I know Wilks is a big thing, but I don't know. I want to lift more weight.
I found it rarely makes lifters happy to like place better in a lower class, but not set PRs.
Right. Yeah, like I said, unless you're like winning something big. If you win your local meet, okay, that's cool, it's great, but like, yeah, I'd rather PR and just put up some big new numbers than, win the meet in Derby, Connecticut. We're going to nationals in a couple months, like, that's different. If you win nationals, all right, cool. Like, do whatever you need to do to win nationals, but the local level, lift more weight.
Absolutely. Yeah, and go 9 for 9, like you said as well. I can't say how important that is too, just from a confidence standpoint. Like, we've talked about a little bit on this podcast before, but like the feeling that I feel like that you want is, it's always better to walk away and say, I think I had a couple more pounds in the tank, than to walk away and say, I didn't meet my goals, or I didn't hit that, or
right.
A host of excuses start popping up and getting into people's heads.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm mad when, if I call that third attempt and you hit that third attempt, I'm like, damn, you had 5 more pounds, definitely. I'm mad about that. I wish we called the 5 more pounds, but it's way better than calling that attempt and you going up and missing.
Yeah.
If you've got that 5 more pounds, cool, we'll get that and more next time. But if you miss, all anyone remembers is that last lift, and now you're like, especially that last deadlift. You miss that last deadlift, what do you think about for the next few months of training? I got to get that deadlift. But if you got it, okay, now we can move forward. Yeah. And it's just a huge mindset change from something so small.
I've even found with some people, it's like, all right, say we take a third attempt, and I'm just going to make this up just for the sake of example, but let's say someone wanted to, deadlift 500, we take the third attempt and they hit, 490 just because we went conservative. Goes up quick, goes up smooth, and then this has happened on a couple occasions. The person will be like, okay, I'll say, let's take a week off, or you can use this workout for the next week. It's nice and easy. They'll be like, I decided to go for that 500-pound deadlift that I didn't get in the meet, and I hit it in the gym, and I'm so excited. And it's like, they don't. A lot of I feel like amateur powerlifters don't really care about the meet as much as they care about like some of the goals that they had.
Right.
So if they miss the 500 pounds in the gym the week after, then it's like, okay, no big deal. You're exhausted from the meet. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, no big deal. Like everything just works out better. Or they hit the 500 pounds in the gym after I told them not to, and then they're super excited, and it's like, all right, cool, you got it, nice job. So you can never look back, unless we're talking, about a big national meet or something like that. You never look back when you leave 10 pounds in the tank and say, oh, that was a waste of the day.
Right.
So.
Especially if you crush that lift, then you got it for next time. That's like, I don't know, again, just as a confidence builder, I looked at it like, I remember reading an article like years ago, Jim Weller was like, just absolutely destroy your opener because no one cares. And like when you get that and you destroy your opener, and all of a sudden you've got more confidence, and the rest of the day goes well, and then you're happy with your third attempt. But if you go up there and you're like I said, same thing what you said, I'd rather hit 490 and know I have 10 more pounds than go for 505 and be like, I could hit 495.
Better to fly out to the warning track like you did in softball last night and just missed it as opposed to strike out. So we're done beer number 1. I'm going to fetch beer number 2.
All right, sounds good. And then we can talk a little bit more about like programming, get into a little bit of the.
Yep. And I know while I'm fetching beer number 2, Kate, you got a beer fact for us? I heard you reading it earlier.
Every week we do a beer fact, except for the weeks that we don't. This week we are doing a beer fact. Let's see, what do you got?
So today's beer fact is a little piece of history. Found it online, so it must be true.
Where did you find it online? Because we can't get sued.
It is called express.com.
Okay.
Very.
Is it Express like douchebag clothing?
Yes, it's a clothing website for beer facts.
Like I wore some of that in college.
Actually, beer
I don't
history.
think it's ever fit me. But
Okay, so in 1814, London suffered the Great Beer Flood when about 388,000 gallons of beer flooded the streets around Tottenham Court Road after vats in a brewery ruptured. At least 8 people drowned, but a judge and jury ruled the beer flood was an act of God.
Sounds like an act of
if
God.
I have to die, I would like to drown in beer.
I think that's about how much I drank at the wedding I went to this past weekend.
If I'm like 80, 90, whatever years old, and they're like, listen, you need to just, this is it for you. I'm just like, listen, drown me in beer.
Death by beer.
It's like in what's the movie? Beer League, right? Farva's character.
Yeah.
Super true.
He's Farva in Super
Oh,
Troopers.
yeah.
I can't think of his name in Beer League.
In Beer Fest.
Beer Fest, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, falls into the
I
vat of
can't think
beer.
of his name either. Yeah, he dies trying to drink all the beer to get out.
I forgot that.
Not a bad way to go. Anyways, beer number 2, we've got 4 Point Pale Ale from Trillium. So we're mixing up styles here tonight. We had an IPA previously, a Pale Ale now, which way back when, if you sift through the archives, you know that a Pale Ale, a little bit lower ABV,
Not too much lower on this one, though.
not too much, but we'll change the flavor profile a little bit, probably a little bit less sweetness. But 4 Point is one of my favorite Pale Ales.
Yeah, I'm also not sure if I've ever had the straight 4 Point Pale Ale. I've had the DDH, the double dry hopped one before, but yeah, it's one of my favorite beers, so let's see how this one goes. That's good. That's better than the Stillings Street.
I think so too. The double dry hop Stillings Street, I know, is always really solid, even though it gives me the throat itchies like any other heavily galaxied, IPAs. But yeah, this is solid.
Nice.
Good breweries in Connecticut. New England. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say New England Brewery is only a few minutes away from the gym. 2 Roads in Stratford.
Yep.
Stratford, I think it's Stratford. You got City Steam, I think, up in Hartford. There's a bunch of small ones. There's a lot of homebrew guys. There's a lot of small places. There's not a lot of big, a lot of big ones. But I think 2 Roads is probably the big one right now. They opened up a few years ago. They got a big brewery and a big bar at the place that you can go, and they do big events all the time. They're probably the big one around us now.
Yeah. And one of these days we'll do like an easily accessible beer episode where we drink stuff that you can pretty much walk into any liquor store and buy.
We almost got there today.
We as far as beer supply goes, this is probably the lowest we've ever been.
Yeah.
But 2 Roads is stuff that's widely distributed and for the most part very good.
Yeah. I know that one brewery, New England Brewery in Connecticut, does Fuzzy Baby Ducks is one of their beers, and that can is hilarious. We'll have to get that one on the show. But
That's their thing. They've got what is it? It's I think it's 667, the neighbor of the beast. It's like, and I think they actually got in trouble for one of their cans or something like that. But all of their cans have some like funny picture on them, and it's got some interesting names on them. So that's like Sea Hag is one of their big ones. But yeah, they've always got something funny like that. 2 Roads is usually a little bit more intense with some of their names, like the Rasputin beer and things like that. But yeah, New England's funny.
Yeah, the Fuzzy Baby Ducks comes up on trading forums quite a bit when that gets released. The fellas from Connecticut come crawling, asking for the treehouse and the Trillium in exchange for the Fuzzy Baby Ducks.
I see a lot when we go to Treehouse. I see a lot of Connecticut plates.
Well, it's pretty close to the border.
Yeah, to like Western Mass. Yeah. I would like to host a powerlifting meet one day with live music and sponsored by a brewery.
It would really bring all the best things together.
We were just talking about doing like live music tonight, and a couple people are like, "Ah, no, it's not going to work." I'm I was like, come on, that'd be cool. Like, what would it be like to have a metal band playing over in the background while you're about to squat?
Yeah. And when you're done, you can just go get a couple pints of beer.
When you're done is the key part. Don't be like 7 drinks in on your third deadlift and want to stand up.
They call your name for your opener on the deadlift, and you're just passed out in the bathroom.
I'd probably look better, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Take the edge off.
We could start a federation. You have to blow at least a 1.0, or none of your lifts count. All right, so we've talked a lot about the gym and the environment that you've created there, as well as powerlifting meets. So let's talk a little bit just about programming. This is always like a tough question, dare I say, not even a good question. But if you could, just because it's hard to answer, but if you could sum up kind of your training philosophy, let's say for someone that has some lifting experience, I'll try to hone it down as much as possible, because I know when we're asked this question, it's a bitch of a question because it's always what if. So someone that maybe has a couple years experience with powerlifting, they're not completely new to the game. They've never, let's say they've never competed, but they have a history of a few years of squatting, benching, deadlifting. What's kind of your training philosophy on taking them to the next level and starting to get them into powerlifting?
Well, first, let me tell you, I've been thinking about all day that you're going to ask this question. And how I'm going to say this without sounding like the biggest douche in the world.
You can sound
so, let's try it, huh? All right. I think if you take someone like I said, like we take an intermediate, no issues, no problems, and they know the lifts. I guess the basic is I'm pretty high frequency. Over the long run, linear, we start high volume, low intensity. We get heavier and get less volume over time. We mix it up a little bit every week, so each week has got a different emphasis for each lift. So each week we go heavy on one lift. That way I find that we can focus on that lift that week instead of having to try to hit one big week. And then it's I'm big on variation, and I'm big on accessory work. We'll squat 3 to 4 times a week depending on how often people are lifting. And depending on the lifter, you're looking at like a safety squat bar on one day, a competition bar on another day, a front squat, a belt squat, something like that. We're going to hit probably different variation almost every day. As we get closer to the meet, we'll get rid of some of the variations and start focusing more on the competition lifts. But the other one, like I said earlier, is lots of accessory work. We do a lot of single leg, a lot of dumbbell work, a disgusting amount of back work, and I feel like we can still add more. So sorry, everyone. And the one that I just started getting back into arms, because we didn't do arms forever, because arms aren't functional. And then every guy that benches 500 pounds has huge arms. Yeah. So I was like, maybe we need to curl a little bit. But yeah, I think like I said, if I try to keep it short and sweet, high frequency, lots of variation, lots of volume, lots of assistance work. That's the shortest way I can say it, I think. I've literally been thinking about this all day.
I think you did a great job. Yeah, I think that's in line, with one guy we had on the show in one of our first few episodes was Josh Bryant, who's someone that I work with, and it is translated into me basically just editing my program a little bit for Tony, just based on different weaknesses. But are you someone that, I know Josh really advocates kind of pushing the strength of assistance work.
Yes.
Even single leg stuff, even curls, to be honest with you, from my experience with him, it's like, you can curl this, let's see if you can curl more. It's not like let's add more volume, it's let's curl more weight. Or,
right.
If you want to get stronger, that's kind of his philosophy. If you want to bench press 500, you need 500-pound shoulders, 500-pound biceps, 500-pound triceps, so on and so forth. Is that kind of in line with your thinking?
Yeah. I've been trying to put this thing together for a while. I think we got it finished finally. It was just a bunch of goals based on where you currently are at. So if you can squat this, then you should be front squatting this. You should be safety bar squatting this. And I showed it to a couple of the members based on what their numbers are, and they're like, get the fuck out of here. You're not serious, dude. And I was like, no, seriously, like, I want your front squat, 85% of, like, your best high bar. And they're like, no, you're out of your mind. I was like, well, then you got to work harder. And yeah, so I think, on some of the stuff, the back work, like I love the chest put row. We'll try to push that heavy. Pull-ups will add a lot of weight to that. Some of the other, the smaller exercises, I'll still try to build volume, but anything that looks like a main lift, I want to go heavier. Like there's no I don't see any reason why not to. The new toy in the gym, we just got a belt squat from Matt Wenning, and literally throwing people on there, be like, all right, go hit a 5 rep max. And everyone's like, why? It's a belt squat. I'm like, why not? Like, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to detach the hook and walk away. You're not going to dump the bar. Nothing's going to happen. So let's see what we can do.
You're probably safer on that than anything else.
I'd rather do a 5 rep max on that than a squat.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather do that. At least I can just walk away from it when I'm done. But I find with it, like, if, it lets me kind of figure out where you're weak too. If you can do something, if you can low bar squat 20% more than you can high bar squat, then there's something wrong. I want to push your high bar squat, bring that up a little bit more, and figure out, where your weaknesses are. Same thing with, like, like you said with bench. If you can bench 300, but you can only military press 135, we got to push that up a little bit. Your shoulders are weak for your bench. Same thing, or if you want to bench 400 and you only bench 135, like, that 400 is not coming. You're going to hit the wall. So I think for the most part, yeah, I agree with that. Almost everything, push the weight, add more weight to it.
Yeah, we've actually, would you agree we've kind of reversed our stance probably in the past year on overhead pressing and its application to the overhead or to the bench press?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm still like, I think my take on that and a lot of these variations is like you said, if you can bench press 400 and you can only overhead press 185, then that's a glaring weakness. Now, if you can bench press 400, is taking your overhead press, up to 400 going to mean you're going to bench press more? I mean, maybe. I don't know. I guess I just haven't
Josh Bryant might be the only guy I know who can overhead press 400.
I mean, I guess that was a bad example. Because if you can overhead press 400, then yeah, you're probably gonna
you're
probably gonna bench press more than 400 too. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, there are these lifts though where people just they never put any time into them, so they have these they're like low hanging fruit. I guess it's just like, oh, like there's something that you're not even strong by any measure at, even though it's accepted that you're a strong person at the big three lifts, and you can't do that lift worth for shit. So obviously, I think if we bring that up, we're going to get something out of it. I guess it's rare that I've seen someone so well-rounded that they're, even there's variations they're really good at.
Right.
So
I've seen this a little bit recently. I know, I think really the hot topic in coaching is the high frequency competition lifts, the daily undulating periodization, and I know it works. I'm not putting it down by any means. But if you're competition squatting, benching, and deadlifting 3-4 times a week, yeah, those lifts are going to go up, but at some point, when are they going to stop because you're weak at something else? Like you just said, and I'm not looking, you don't have to military 400, but you got to have a minimum baseline. If you got to at least be able to do something with it.
Right.
Otherwise, where's the carryover coming from?
I think that's one of the great things about powerlifting is you're never done, and weak points kind of shift around a little bit, and the stronger you get, maybe a previous weak point gets better, but now you have a different weak point, and you get to shift your focus. And people complain that powerlifting is boring, and I get that. It's like baseball again, another similarity, and I feel like I could squat, bench, and deadlift week in and week out for the rest of my life and not get bored. Other people would, but the thing that keeps it exciting is that there's always something new to work on.
Right.
And weak points change, and focuses change, and goals change, so it's always evolving, which I think never gets boring.
Absolutely, and we've talked about this before too. I mean, and Ryan, I'm sure you see this too. You get different lifters who like different kinds of training, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong to play into the kind of training that they like.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're not going to do it, right?
Right.
So, like, I've got one guy that, Dan, I'm throwing this out. Dan wanted me to really mention him tonight, so here you go, Dan. He trains 6 days a week and does the competition lifts more than any other person I train. Even though he said to me the other night, he thinks that for the first time working with me, he's been pushing his assistants work a lot more, and he has gotten a lot stronger. But he enjoys doing, competition squats 4 days a week. I would rather do anything else in the world than competition squat 4 days a week.
I put a gun in my mouth.
Yeah, he's like, let's go, man. Like every day, he's like, I'll squat again. I'm like, nah, let's do something else. How about that? But right now he squats 6 days a week, and he loves it. If I gave that to some of the other people, they'd probably kill me.
Yeah.
So here's a question, follow up to that. Somebody who squats 6 days a week, somebody who squats 2 days a week. Obviously, they have to train differently. How do you train Dan to allow him to squat 6 days a week without dying?
I have no idea. Listen, I'm going to be a little like you said. You change your mind on the overhead pressing. I change my mind every few months, and I'm not sure what the right answer is on any of this stuff. So take everything with a grain of salt. Dan, right now, the main squat day is kind of that formula I've been using for a while, where it's like, one day we're working more technique type stuff. The next week might be a higher volume day, and then another week might be a heavier day. His other days in the week, every other day is basically a variation. Except he'll have another comp day of pause squats, usually below bar, and then another comp day of like relatively easy. Maybe like a 4x4 at 7 RPE, or leave 3 or 4 in the tank, so it's not that bad. But then depending on where he is in the cycle, we might throw in safety squat bar. Or I really like overhead squats, at least for learning how to squat well. We throw that in occasionally, and that lowers the training weight so much that, an overhead squat day is not going to take that much out of your legs. You could easily squat heavy tomorrow. So I try to vary it up like that, so even though you're going 6 days a week, he never feels beat up, really. And sometimes we overpush a little too much, and we got to back off somewhere. And, the other night, he came in and he's like, I can't. I was like, all right, just hit like a 3x5 at like 40%, just to work the pattern. And he did that, and he's like, okay, I'm fine. And then he benched, and then he went on from there, and he was fine the rest of the day. But I think we just try to, on a daily basis, like we have a program, but if we need to make a change, we'll change it.
You know what?
Not a great answer, not helpful that much, but.
Well, you come from a weightlifting background, right?
Right, yeah. So I'm used to like
high frequency.
Squatting every day, snatch, twice a day. So I just was like, when I first started coaching powerlifting, we didn't do that at all. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, why not? Like, I did it for several years and was fine. You get used to it, so why don't we try it? And I will say, at the beginning, it was like we would take a deload every 4th week, and people were pretty beat up, and then they got used to it. And I was like, all right, let's take a deload every 6th week. And then I was like, all right, let's go every 12 weeks. And now if you look at my programming, like the only time we really deload is right before and right after a meet, unless they come to me and say, I need a deload. But I haven't written a deload in outside of a meet week in probably 2 years. And I think we're doing okay.
Yeah. Do you think that, that is a function too of like, and this is something I recommend to a lot of people, is like, you guys like undulate a lot as far as the lift.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you're someone that does just go straight linear all 3 lifts, deloads
Right.
have their place a little bit more.
I agree. I would yeah.
Whereas like one lift is kind of like technique week is probably kind of like a deload for that lift.
Absolutely. I completely, yeah. Like, like when you're hitting 8 doubles on squat at like 75%, like you could probably do 20 doubles at 75%. So yeah, that's like, it's not a deload, but it is a deload. So you're probably, yeah, you're right. Like each week, at least we're getting one of the main lifts is kind of backed off. And And I think that helps carry over a lot, because then it's only 2 out of every 3 weeks that's like really hard.
Right.
So yeah, that's our deload. You're right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's all just verbiage, really. But like
Right,
that's
yeah.
like the intelligent way to kind of fluctuate things for people to train.
Also,
long-term.
when you rotate the lifts like that, you're not deloading everything all at once.
Yeah.
It seems like an intelligent way to keep things moving all the time.
Mhm.
I mean, it's probably been like 2 years, like tinkering every time, like trying something new, like doing things, and like, you know, I think like that technique, like I said, treating it like a technique week, like something that you could do for sets of 6, but we're gonna do it for sets of 2, and I'm not, like, I think a lot of coaches would call it a speed week. I'm not calling it a speed week, because I'm not like telling guys to go out and, absolutely crush it and throw the chains and throw the bands on, even though we will sometimes. But it's really just getting that lower intensity work in where it's not beating you up. Because next week I'm going to beat you up. And the next week I'm going to probably kill you. So we get 1 week off.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I always do this. I had something in my head. It's gone.
Gone. That's what happens in beer too.
No.
My wife is going to watch this later, I'm sure. We had a kid 2 years ago. I don't remember anything from like go anymore. So I'm with you.
I was gonna say. Shit. All right, I got it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I got it. I think even deloading comes down to like not marrying yourself to like, since we're talking about marriage too, not marrying yourself to like one training method. Like I know some people that I, religiously, myself included, like we linearly progress and we deload on the 4th week. And they're like, I really like that because I have a busy ass schedule, and at least I know every 4th week my training session's only going to take 45 minutes to an hour, and I can schedule a bunch of shit that week and not have to worry about it. And like, so it's like just comes down as from a coaching standpoint, like listening to your clients sometimes and figuring out, like I said, if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. So if you can. Obviously, our discussion tonight's been great because it just shows that like so many things from the programming standpoint can get you from A to B, and at like a pretty high level. As long as you're taking care of the principles and the basics, and you have good progressive overload going on and so on and so forth. But that if you pick something that jives with the person that you're working with, that's going to be the best case scenario. And then if you couple that with a great training environment like you guys have created there. Now, when it is, a higher intensity week, they're going to get pushed. Or a higher volume, they're going to get pushed.
Can we hit the pause button and look at my beer can for a sec?
Ghosting.
This is the reason why people need to tune in on YouTube. See what's going on here. I think it's coming from the ceiling fan, being in our 3rd studio in 3 shows, because it's too hot upstairs.
It is hot. It is hot here.
I was going to do this at my gym, and I'm like, I can't. I gotta go home. It's like 85 and humid in the gym. I was like, I gotta go home to central air. I can't do this.
Yeah, our roles are reversed. We have no AC here.
Oh, no, all right.
But at the gym we do. Should be the other way around.
Should be. I like a hot gym. I like sweating when I'm training, so I don't have to warm up.
That is a goddamn fact, to be honest with you.
I can't start sweating. When you've been in the gym for 30 seconds and you're sweating, you don't need to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
You're good.
Well, I think it's awesome that you have a huge sample size of lifters to draw from. Like 70 power lifters, you're going to have basically a better study than any controlled study that's ever been developed, because like Greg Knuckles said when he was on here, like good luck finding even 10 high-level lifters that you can study all at once who will, stop everything to, kind of stay within your guidelines of very controlled variables. So whatever it is you're doing, man, it's awesome that you got all the people to test it on, and you've got the results and the data to look back on, and certainly like some different stuff tonight than what we've heard other coaches talk about, but probably the biggest sample size of overall lifters to fall back on. And you said this a while back, like this should be a results-based industry, fitness.
Yeah.
And what better way to look at results than to have such a huge crew of lifters?
I'll be honest, I tell a decent amount of my lifters pretty regularly that they're all my guinea pigs. And hopefully I don't screw up. But like the lucky thing is, like you said, because I have enough of them that like I can learn pretty quickly through a cycle. Oh, this didn't work, or maybe it worked on one person, but it didn't work on everyone else. In which I can kind of play around and figure out things a little bit faster. And like I said, try new things and hope they work.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So I got one question here, maybe to cap it off for tonight.
Okay.
So as a, it's not that great of a question. It's a little selfish because, in my training, I've tried high frequency approaches. Have you ever had someone that just doesn't respond well to high frequency, where like you do go back to maybe a traditional like 2 bench days, 1 squat day, 1 deadlift day, something like that? Okay.
I have killed a few people.
And I'm going to stop this for a second to tell the truth. Like, you tried high frequency squatting and you actually died.
Yeah.
Like, I believe to this day that you were a ghost of yourself and that you died during that high frequency phase.
I flatlined. Came back.
No, I've had a few people that started them off that and then we work up to it. It's not like day one. Okay, here's 4 days of squatting, but we work into it. And the first few weeks, they're a little bit more sore because they're not used to it. And I'm like, just give it a little bit of time. You'll be fine. You'll get into it. And then like 6 or 7 weeks in, they're like, okay, I have patellar tendonitis and I have elbow tendonitis and I can't get under the bar anymore and my back hurts. And I'm kind of like, are you just sore? And they're like, no, I hurt everywhere.
That's me. Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. and then we'll back off. And then usually, like, the standard, 2 days a week benching and 1 main squat day, 1 main deadlift day, and with some variations of it on each other day. And I still have a few people like that. That just, the frequency just doesn't work. It usually takes a few weeks to kind of figure it out, but after that, it's pretty clear. I mean, they're just like, I can't. They don't even want to come to the gym anymore. They're just like, everything sucks.
Yeah.
But how else are you going to find that out without trying it?
No, yeah, you got it.
You got to be able to identify those lifters by at least
multiple times. Yeah.
Well, I had a kid that I worked with. I am old, like 8-9 years ago, I guess, and he was a swimmer, and he was just like, well, I'm used to swimming, insane yardage a day. He's just a volume guy. So he's like, I'm like, why don't we try high intensity stuff? Lift heavy weights and get stronger and swim faster. And he cut 14 seconds off his 200 IM going into his senior year of high school, and it was just like, all right, maybe you're not a volume guy. We thought he was a volume guy, and then he ended up swimming in college and was a very good sprinter and realized, okay, I am not a volume guy at all. And doing the higher frequency stuff is not going to have the same carryover with him than it was with some of our others that really flourish on 4 days a week or more of benching.
Yeah. I personally don't have the answer to this, but it's something I've started asking. So we train a good amount of powerlifters online, so they usually start with a questionnaire.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess what I've been trying to do is trying to figure out, is there some questions I can ask to just get right, to figure out what frequency works better for someone and so on and so forth. So I always wonder, and I don't know if you've thought about this at all, is some of us are obviously more fast twitchy, more explosive people, making even a third attempt look fast, and then you add 5 pounds and then just miss completely. Yep. So that's you, and I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum where it's once I get to about 90% for a lot of stuff, it just all looks like grinders. Even though, if it's 90%, let's say for a single, it's I have no doubt that I have that lift. It doesn't really take anything out of me, even though it looks like looks like shit afterward. Speed-wise, it looks really slow. So I was wondering if you see any correlation between frequency and that, just the kind of lifter that you're working with.
never really thought of it that way. Think about myself. Like, I will move 99% fast, and then 101% will crush me. Like, there's no grind in my world. I have no idea how to do it. Just like, I will make a max effort squat look like 70%, add 5 pounds and get stapled.
And you respond well to high frequency.
Yeah, and I think like with that, I did very well with high frequency. I think like the guys that are true grinders, the ones that, like you said, 85, 90% are already like, wow, that's moving kind of slow, even though you know that if you could probably do it for 3, you know, but it's gonna look like death. I think those true grinders don't have the high frequency as well because it just starts to take too much out of them too quickly. Where the guys that are explosive can get away with it every day, and even like on a lot of them I'll actually work on more of a tempo kind of thing and slow them down a little bit. But yeah, those grinders, like I said, if I had to think about it, I don't think the grinders respond as well. They need more of that, like 2 days a week of bench and 1 main squat, 1 main deadlift, and then get some time off. And I don't know if that's just because it's taking more out of them because of what they're the way they're built or what, but yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something. It's just like a theme, I guess I've been trying to pursue. Like the more to try to get an answer to it, ask the right questions. Like I guess I'm just always thinking like, well, if I could skip the whole step where I try high frequency and they fail miserably, that would be good. So if I can get them to that,
I think
so it's interesting.
That speaks to Ryan's background too. I think baseball, super fast twitch sport. Weightlifting, fast twitch sport. Neither of those are slow, so natural selection I think brings you into like being a fast twitch powerlifter who's either all or nothing. I think there's so much value in asking somebody like what their background is. Yeah. Where maybe your swimmer spits in the face of that. Somebody who was a distance guy who actually should have been a sprinter doing shorter distances. But there's value in getting to know your clients and knowing what they've done in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, like our online questioner, I'll be honest, we just started coaching online probably about 6 months ago, like for real. I've been doing it a little while before that, but for real, probably 6 months ago. When we say, we ask like, what's your training been like? How do you feel? So when they say, oh, I've been squatting twice a week and, I'm sore all the time. Well, all right, let's maybe try 1 day a week. Or, you get those guys that just are never sore. They're like, oh, I squat 3 days a week, I'm fine. Oh, all right, let's try 4 days a week then. Yeah. So I think, like, we use a little bit like that just to see, because same kind of thing, I don't know. And, like, we'll start out everyone off. Even if you're, you could be a lower level lifter or a high level lifter. If I've never worked with you before, I don't know how you're going to respond to everything. So, I do kind of stay with my philosophy with the higher frequency stuff. And in the first 2 weeks, like really stay in a lot of contact and see how things go. And if you're responding well, then cool, let's run with it. If not, like, all right, we got to back off. One of my guys just went down to, I think it was Jacksonville, and won APF Submaster national championships, had like the world record of the squat, the deadlift, and the total. And he just wasn't a high frequency guy. We would do something for legs every day, but it wasn't a squat every day. He was squatting twice a week, really. 4 days a week I don't think would have gone over well. He had 2 main bench days a week, and then we did some accessory work on the other day. So he was still doing like a full body day all the time, but it wasn't a high frequency squat bench dead program.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's a lot to be learned, I think, as powerlifting gets more popular and deeper thinkers get involved in the powerlifting game. I think we'll see,
Well, what's a constant right there? Stay in frequent communication with your lifter.
Absolutely.
Help them listen to their bodies. Tell them when not to listen to their bodies and when to keep pushing. Or tell them...
don't max out every week.
Yep, don't max out every week.
Yeah.
We see a lot of common threads, and that's what's so fun about having so many great coaches on the show, is you get to kind of put the puzzle together and see, like, everybody's got different approaches, but what are the common themes? And listening to your lifters is a big one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And not to spoil what we have coming up, but I think one of the guests we have coming up is going to be a great guy from a perceiving the amount of work that somebody has done and changing it based on that. Kind of like one of the forefathers of that, I would say.
Yep.
But yeah, being able, not like we've talked about before, maybe not writing programs 12, 8, even 4 weeks at a time, but bringing them down to a weekly update based on how things are going and how somebody's feeling.
I literally just made that change.
Yeah.
I had done, I had an idea where we want to go, and I'll have like kind of a mindset of like, okay, here's where we're going to be 6, 12, 18 weeks out. But I used to write at least 4 to 6 weeks at a time, and it was like, well, this is the program, like we're fine. And now I write 1 week at a time, and based on how that week went, maybe the second week is going to be exactly what I would have wrote originally, but maybe it's going to change an exercise, or maybe it's going to be, a different volume, different intensity. And I think that's been a big thing for me of trying to be less rigid. I was like, no, like this is what we do for 18 weeks. Like if you do what I tell you, we'll get there. And now I'm like, okay, like this week went really poorly. Let's make these changes. Or like this week went great. Let's run with it. And I made that switch like 6 weeks ago, I think. And I think it's been I think it's helped a lot. It's also, I think it's made me a better programmer too, because I have to think about it more often. Someone comes back and says, oh, this feels great. Like, oh, all right, well, let's run that a little bit more. Or this feels terrible. Like, ooh, okay. Instead of running with it for 6 weeks, maybe we mix it up now, or maybe we give it 1 more week and see. And if it doesn't get any better, all right, let's switch and make some changes. And that's been learning to listen to my lifters more too.
Yeah, I echo that 100%. I mean, we both do weekly updates for powerlifting and lifting. It makes your job easier and harder. I mean, you have to update it more often, but it starts to become really easy to see what is helping and what is really just, not getting you anywhere.
Right.
So yeah, kind of starting everyone off in the same spot and then looking at how they branch off in different directions and making adjustments, and then you start to realize like, shit, a 4-week program is just not right, because here I have 4 people starting almost the same program at the same time, and they're going 4 different ways with it just off of week 1.
Right.
And yeah, like if you put the time in and the experience and you've learned a lot, obviously even that 4-week program gets all 4 people better. But maybe, it's someone gets here, someone gets here, someone gets here, someone gets here, and as you change it from a week-to-week basis, the goal is maybe everyone gets here, and that's awesome. Yeah, cool.
All right, so Ryan, we appreciate your time.
Yeah,
a lot of great insight. Where can our listeners find out more about you?
Instagram probably is, we try to post something every day. We just changed the name because we're being weird, so it's Team GPT. That's our big thing, Team GPT on Instagram. Facebook, GleasonPerformanceTraining, and website is GleasonPerformanceTraining.com. Generally, I tell people, like, go on the Instagram, my email's on there. I think my cell phone might be on there too, so, like, honestly, I don't mind if people reach out. Like, I have people that'll send me videos on Instagram and be like, hey, can you critique my form? And it's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, it's not going to take me that long. It's not the end of my day. So, I don't mind people reaching out. I think people get a little nervous reaching out to coaches sometimes that they're going to have to pay a lot of money for it. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do that too. But, send me stuff. That's fine. The more people I can help, I think the better off, because I think there's a lot of people, especially with online, this is good right here, but I think there's a lot of bad information that comes out, and they start doing some weird things. And if I can maybe stop one of those weird things, maybe I did a good job. We'll see.
And I got to say that, like, your Instagram account was a breath of fresh air, because you can always tell, like, who's a great coach and who's a shit coach based on how many videos they post of clients. and your Instagram is almost all like your lifters.
Right.
That's huge, right? Because a coach who's posing as a coach who actually has no clients, their Instagram account, it gives it away, right? It's all them. Shirtless selfies, bullshit nonsense. Like, your Instagram account is full of all your lifters doing really impressive things. So that's how it's fairly easy to tell that you're the real deal.
Thank you. I try to tell everyone. I had one of my online guys said to me today, he's like, thank you so much for like guiding me, giving me the blueprint that I needed. And I'm like, you did the work, man. I'm like, I just kind of do this and like give you a little push and hope I push in the right direction. So I know this might get me some flack back online, but I hate when coaches take so much credit. Like, I'm not lifting the weight for you. Like, you're the one lifting 600-700 pounds. I'm not doing that. I got the easy job. I type a few words and say, go do this. So it's all about the lifter. Like I said, my job is, I get the easy job.
I don't know why I just thought about this, but I feel like coaching is kind of like bowling. You got two kinds of lanes. The lanes where they keep the rudders in there for you, and then the lanes where they get rid of the rudders because, you got young kids and you don't want to throw it in the gutter. I feel like a coach just kind of keeps you, just kind of fills in the gutters for you so that you can't throw it in there anymore and just lose out completely. They just kind of give you the right amount of room to work with.
That started weird, but it is.
Thank you.
I fucking hate bowling.
I don't really like bowling either.
Unless I'm drinking a
Well,
lot.
it is. Bowling is basically an excuse to drink, but
Which is why
I
we
just
do
throw
this
the ball on
podcast.
the needle as hard as I can and hope for the best.
yeah, yep, and that's easier to do with no gutters. So
Right.
hire a coach.
Just,
Oh man, you poetic.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a deep thought with Greg. Awesome, man. Well, yeah, we will definitely post all the information, how you can find more about Gleason Performance Training. And I know a lot of guys and girls that tune into our podcast are local to New England. So do you allow people to drop by if they're in the area to train and all, check it out? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on in. Our hours are a little bit different because we're only open when we have a trainer on hand. So, like, if someone wants to come in, if it's slow and you're benching, like, we're going to be there to spot you and everything. But yeah, if you want to come in, by all means, come down and stop in. I love when visitors come in and see where they're coming from and have fun with it.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So that's it for tonight. Before we head out, I just want to make an announcement that we have the Big 3 seminar coming up at Cressy Sports Performance August 20th. We have a few spots left for that. Just in person, be able to go over some programming basics, get you started with writing your own programs or understanding, why you might be doing some of the things you're already doing if you work with a coach or follow a program. And then the biggest part of that is just a lot of hands-on coaching, just looking at your technique on the squat, bench press, and deadlift. It's a seminar where you're going to come to train. We're going to put the music up, actually get after it, and take some videos and get some critique and do some things to help with your technique. So, a few spots left. You can check it out by following the link in our Instagram, and we will get this episode to you by the end of the week. Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on tonight, taking time out of your busy schedule. But we really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.